Emma had never imagined that her life would take such a crazy turn. She was the type of woman who was cautious, always knew where the line was, and always kept herself composed in relationships. But then one night, a little bit of alcohol, an accidental glance, and all her principles vanished like smoke from a cigarette. It was a warm Friday evening, and the city lights flickered on the busy streets of Portland. Emma drove to Lisa's house, her best friend for over 20 years. Lisa was the type of woman who was strong, sharp, and somewhat overbearing. They had gone through the turbulent years of college together, witnessed each other fall in love, get heartbroken, and then grow up. But tonight was not about them. It was about the party to celebrate Jake, Lisa's son, who had just completed his graduate program. Emma had always seen Jake as a little brother. He had grown up before her eyes, from a skinny, mischievous boy who loved playing in the mud to a tall, muscular young man with deep gray eyes like a winter sea. When Emma walked into the house, she immediately noticed Jake standing in the middle of the crowd, laughing loudly. His smile no longer that of a little boy but that of a full-grown man. "Emma!" Jake waved, walking toward her with a cocktail in hand. "Long time no see." She smiled and took the drink from him. "Congrats, Jake. You've officially become an adult now." Jake tilted his head with a mischievous glint in his eye. "It depends on how you define adult." Emma laughed, but something felt off. Throughout the evening, they talked more than usual. Lisa was busy with the guests, while Jake and Emma kept finding themselves talking in a corner of the living room. The conversations started to get more personal. The light touches on the arm seemed to linger a little longer than they should. A few more drinks went by, and the atmosphere between them shifted. As the crowd started to thin out, Jake lay back on the couch, looking at Emma with a more intense gaze. "Have you ever thought about living differently?" he asked, his voice more serious. Emma furrowed her brow. "What do you mean?" Jake smiled, took a sip of his drink, and spoke slowly. "I've always felt like you were holding back, like you're stuck in an invisible cage." Emma chuckled nervously, but her voice was hesitant. "You're still young, Jake. You'll understand when you get older. Sometimes life doesn't always go the way we want." Jake leaned his head to the side, his eyes sharp. "Or maybe you're just finding excuses not to do what you really want." She felt her heart skip a beat. Was he joking? Was this some kind of game? But as Jake moved closer, Emma realized she wasn't so sure anymore. She could stop right now. She could leave, go home, sleep it off, and forget it ever happened. But she didn't. Emma let Jake pull her in closer. A moment later, their lips met, softly but full of longing. And from that moment, there was no turning back. Emma opened her eyes, the morning sunlight filtering through the curtains, casting a soft glow on her face. She felt a strong arm wrapped around her waist, and steady breathing against her neck. Jake. The truth hit her like a ton of bricks. She froze, trying to piece together the fragmented memories of the night before. The hot kisses, the tight grip of their hands, the laughter, the hurried whispers. And then everything had crossed the line. She took a deep breath, trying not to panic. This couldn't be real. But when she moved, Jake mumbled something and pulled her back into his arms. "Jake," she whispered, her voice dry. He lazily opened his eyes, a smile appearing on his lips. "Good morning, Emma." She sat up quickly, pulling the blanket around herself. This can't be happening." Jake stretched, propped himself up on his elbow, and looked at her with an unbothered expression. "But it did happen." Emma squeezed her eyes shut. "Lisa is going to kill me. Do you realize that? This isn't just some little mistake. This is my best friend's son." Jake shrugged. "I'm a grown man, Emma. You don't need to feel guilty about this." Emma looked at him, unable to believe how calm he was. She wanted to think that this was just a drunken mistake, that everything would blow over if she pretended it never happened. But deep down, she knew it wasn't that simple. Because right now, as Jake reached out and gently touched her chin, his gaze burning into her. Emma realized she wasn't sure she could forget this as easily as she thought. Her phone buzzed on the table. A message from Lisa. "Are you free? I need to talk to you." Emma stared at the screen, her heart pounding. It was time. The morning after, Emma woke up with a suffocating feeling. She lay still in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. Fragments of memories from the night before kept drifting through her mind, like a slow-motion film. Jake's gaze, the gentleness but intensity in the first kiss, and then everything that came after. Each time she thought about what had happened, a wave of nausea would hit her chest. She reached for her phone, her hand trembling. It was already past 1 in the afternoon. Lisa's message still hadn't come. She didn't know what she was expecting. Forgiveness? Or an angry reprimand? Lisa had always been someone who got straight to the point, never beat around the bush. She knew her friend too well. But today was not going to be easy. Not when everything was this chaotic. Emma sat up, feeling the weight of everything pressed down on her. She couldn't keep running from this. Couldn't keep living in fear that the truth would come out. She had always felt like she could control her life. But now, everything was slipping out of her grasp. She hurriedly dressed, no longer caring about the details. After a brief internal battle, she made up her mind to call Lisa. The unsent message from earlier in the morning still made her uneasy, and Lisa's silence was only making her more anxious. Emma bit her lip and decided to make the call. Each second waiting for the phone to ring felt like an eternity. Then Lisa picked up. "Emma." Lisa's voice was low, with a hint of something unfamiliar. "Hey, Lisa." Emma tried to sound calm, but she knew her anxiety was evident in her voice. "Do you want to meet up?" Lisa asked, her tone not as angry as Emma had imagined but cold. "I need to talk to you." There was a pause. Emma didn't know what to say, but she knew she couldn't avoid it any longer. "Let's meet at our usual coffee shop," Emma finally suggested. "Okay, see you at Bright Cafe," Lisa replied and then hung up without another word. Emma exhaled deeply, leaning back in her chair. She checked the time, gathered her things, and headed out to the cafe. Each step felt heavier than the last. When Emma arrived at the cafe, Lisa was already sitting in their usual corner. She watched her friend, whose eyes were red, probably from staying up all night, but her face was devoid of emotion. Lisa had always been easy to read, but now she felt like someone Emma couldn't quite understand. Emma sat down, quietly watching her friend. Lisa didn't look at her right away. Instead, she started stirring her coffee, finally lifting her head to meet Emma's eyes with a direct, almost piercing gaze. "I know everything, Emma," Lisa said, her voice deep and strangely emotionless. Emma felt a shock run through her body. She closed her eyes for a second, and then opened them again. She couldn't speak. "Did you think I didn't notice anything?" Lisa continued. "Did you think I didn't see the way you two look at each other? Did you think I didn't notice the changes in Jake?" Emma bit her lip, struggling to keep her composure. "Lisa, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. It was just a mistake." Lisa let out a short, bitter laugh. "A mistake, huh?" She set her coffee cup down on the table, her eyes sharp. "Do you really think I didn't notice? Do you think I wouldn't catch on? You thought you could keep pretending, didn't you?" Emma didn't know what to say. All the apologies in the world felt meaningless in this situation. She looked at Lisa, her sadness evident in her eyes, but she couldn't change what had happened. "Lisa, I don't know how to explain this. I couldn't stop. Everything happened so fast, I just couldn't control it," Emma said, her voice trembling. Lisa was silent for a moment, her eyes staring off into the distance, as if searching for some reason to forgive her friend. "You've always had feelings for Jake, haven't you?" Lisa asked, her voice softer now but still filled with pain. "You've always loved him. But why would you do this to me?" Emma couldn't answer. All she could do was stay silent, because she didn't even understand why it had happened. "I can't forgive you right now," Lisa said, standing up. "The way you betrayed me, whether it was on purpose or not, it still feels like a betrayal." A long silence followed. Emma felt a sharp pain in her chest, like her heart was being torn apart. She couldn't blame Lisa. She couldn't undo the fact that she had slept with her best friend's son. "You know, I don't think you can fix this anymore," Lisa said quietly. "What you did is done. You've crossed a line." With that, Lisa turned and walked away without looking back. Emma sat there, her hands shaking as she held her now cold coffee. Everything felt like it was falling apart, right in front of her. As Lisa walked out of the cafe, Emma couldn't do anything but watch. She didn't know what she could do to fix their friendship, or whether there was even a chance left to save it. All she knew was that everything had changed, and Emma wasn't sure if she could ever go back to the way things were. That day, Emma didn't know where to go. Everything felt too chaotic, too harsh. She only knew that she was standing at a crossroads, unsure of which way to turn next. A few days after the tense encounter with Lisa, Emma still couldn't shake the heaviness in her heart. She tried to get back to her usual routine, as if nothing had changed. But it was impossible. Everything had changed, and there was no going back. Everything began to crumble like a shattered mirror, with pieces scattered everywhere, and no one could put it back together. Emma hadn't seen Lisa since. Her best friend had been avoiding her, not responding to her messages or calls. The air between them felt like a cold wall, impassable. During those days, Emma couldn't stop thinking about Jake. Jake, the young man she had never imagined feeling that way about. She had seen him grow up, but now, with everything that had happened, she realized that the feelings she had for Jake had long surpassed friendship. She couldn't deny it, but she didn't know what to do with it. One evening, while Emma was preparing dinner for herself, she received a text from Jake. "Can we talk?" Just 3 words, but enough to make her heart race. She didn't reply immediately, giving herself time to gather her thoughts. She knew she couldn't avoid Jake forever. After a moment of thought, she replied, "Where do you want to meet?" Jake suggested a small bar in the old part of town, one they used to go to when they were in college. The place brought back memories for Emma of their younger days, the times when they would talk endlessly about the future, dreams, and hopes. But today, everything felt different. When Emma entered the bar, she saw Jake already sitting at a corner table, the dim light casting a soft glow on his face, making him look both familiar and distant. His hair was a bit messy, and his eyes, though still bright, were filled with concern, as if he was carrying a heavy burden. Jake noticed her and looked at her with an anxious expression. They sat down without speaking immediately. Emma could feel the tension in the air, like an invisible string pulling tight between them. "Emma," Jake finally spoke, his voice low and weary. "I don't know where to start, but I want to talk about what happened. I can't keep living in silence." Emma stayed silent, unsure of what to say. Apologies, explanations, all of it felt meaningless at this point. But she knew that the most important thing now was to face the truth. "I don't know either," Jake continued, his eyes locking with hers, as if searching for something in them. "You know, I've felt something between us for a long time. I never thought this would happen, but once it did, I couldn't deny those feelings." Emma took a deep breath. All she could do was listen. She realized that in this situation, she wasn't the only one feeling lost. Jake was going through a turmoil of his own. "I know you probably feel guilty, but I don't want you to think that I'm blaming you," Jake said, his lips curling into a faint smile. "I just want you to understand that this isn't necessarily wrong. It's complicated, but it's not a bad thing." Emma couldn't stop thinking about Jake's words. She wanted to believe what he was saying, but at the same time, she felt like she was caught in a whirlwind of emotions she couldn't control. Everything felt so unclear, so blurred, and she didn't know if she could find a clear path. Jake reached out his hand, as if he wanted to hold hers, but Emma didn't react immediately. She looked into his eyes, feeling a strange connection between them, both close and distant. Part of her wanted to find comfort in his embrace, but another part reminded her of the price that might come with it. "What do you think about everything that happened?" Jake asked, his eyes filled with a longing for her truth. "Do you feel the same way I do?" Emma swallowed hard, her eyes blurring with unshed tears. "I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like I've betrayed myself, betrayed Lisa too." Jake let go of her hand, gently squeezing it. "You haven't betrayed anyone, Emma. Sometimes we don't control our emotions. What matters is that we face them." Emma lowered her head, tears beginning to fall. It wasn't because she wanted to cry, but because she felt so exhausted. Exhausted from holding herself together, from hiding all the swirling emotions inside. She needed the truth, she needed to face everything. But she didn't know if she had the strength to do that. After a long pause, Jake stood up. "I don't know where we go from here, Emma. But I don't want to lose you. I just want a chance to try again." Emma watched him, unable to speak. She didn't know if she could go back to what they had. She couldn't be sure of anything anymore. But a part of her knew that no matter what, life had to go on. Things might change, but not everything would be bad forever. Jake left, leaving Emma sitting there, facing questions without answers. She knew that the journey ahead wouldn't be easy, and she wasn't sure if she could find peace in her heart. But at least she had made one decision. She would face the truth, no matter how difficult it might be.